All right, here's the number one question you need to ask to get to the bottom of someone's personality type, which is, what is their strategy by which they're living their life? And the key to that is, what situation do they stand to benefit from? Because the typical question people ask is, oh, how are they behaving? How do other people say they're behaving? That's not a bad question, but we have better questions. So, for example, you can describe someone's behavior as chaotic in that they mess up plans, they change their mind and all that sort of stuff. Unless they stand to benefit from chaos, that's not the strategy that they're living by. So this topic is inspired by Folly and Helix's latest video. I'll play the clip, and the link is below if you want to watch the whole thing.
And we're also going to cover whether IJs can actually be chaotic, because we think they can. I was thinking that Ali seems chaotic.
Propensity to change his mind. You had the idea that we were going to do 100 videos in 100 days. Started off on the Monday as, yes, we're going to do it. By the Wednesday it was, actually no, I can't bother to do it. On the Thursday it was, oh yeah, we're going to do it again. On the Saturday it was, no, we're not going to do it. And you decided we were going to do it again, and then by the time the next Monday meeting came around, we weren't going to do it.
There is chaotic, which is an anecdote, and then there's the actual human need, which is not chaotic.
This is a great question, and who better to answer it than someone who has all the answers? What I really like about this clip is that it shows that behavior doesn't always show you your motivation. So in this example, Ali is like changing his mind. He's like, oh, we should do this. No, we should do that. No, we should do this. And so from the outside perspective to everybody else, you're vacillating between one thing and the next. You're not communicating what you're thinking. You're not communicating what framework you're basing your decision on. Obviously, then to the outside world, that's going to look chaotic. But in terms of our personality definition, the motivation is that, oh, I'm the one who needs to figure it out based on my understanding. In fact, people describe me as chaotic as well. Chaos. All right, kick plant off. What's the next thing? So again, we're looking for motivation. We're looking for the individual's strategy. And that strategy and motivation is informed by what is the person made to do. This is a little controversial. We'll talk about it later as well in another video on how if your physical and mental attributes or a portion of them are determined early on, then your strategy for life is also going to follow that. I'll explain that in a second. But just imagine you're racing and there's a whole bunch of different cars. There used to be a cartoon called Wacky Races or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of different cars. And each car is going to have its own strategy. So if you're a sports car, you're going to go fast on the road. Or if you're an SUV, you're going to shortcut by going off-road. But your behavior might not align with what you're designed to do or what you're made to do. It's kind of like how someone might be a convertible. They're like, how can I be convertible? I never take my top down. Let's use a better example. How can I be an SUV since I always stay on the road? It's like, okay, I can see that you don't go off-road, but you are big-bodied and I can tell that you're made to be on all fours. I just mean like, clearly with the amount of space you have in the back, it's designed to get packed in. I'm just saying that like, literally anybody would look at you and be like, just from the sheer size, this is designed to take on a massive load. Let's just move on. All right, so what are you made naturally to benefit from? There's a really interesting premise here, which we'll talk about in depth later on, which is that your mind, body, perception, and personality are all aligned together to benefit from one another. So in other words, your mind is good at processing what your body encounters, and then you're better able to perceive the things that are relevant to your mind and body, and your personality is able to put up with and find value in those things that your mind, body, and perception are dealing with. So let's say you're really good at sifting rocks. Like your body will be designed to filter through these things. Your mind will be able to process like what is this and that kind of stuff and what's not. Your perception will be able to focus on the right thing. And then your personality will be able to put up with this bullshit of sifting through some garbage for a long ass time, right? Because it will think that there's going to be a payout here, okay? So let's focus on the fourth thing, the personality. So let's go back to chaos, right? So to benefit from chaos means that your strategy is that I'm going to hope some shit is going to come through the door, or I'm going to run into something. I don't know what it is. It's a lottery ticket almost. In fact, it's not even a lottery ticket, because a lottery ticket, you're actually buying a ticket and hoping for it to come through. This is just like open door. So a real life example, I once had a really pretty friend of mine on her website have her personal email, like her main email. You know how you have like a BS side email? No, this is like her main email, okay? And some dude was just messaging her and she's like responding to it. I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you have your personal email available for all of the internet to message you? And now you're engaging with this creepy dude. He only wants one thing. Like, well, let me just hear him out. Let me see what he has to say. And I'm like, dude, this is Mrs. Teapot. Haven't I heard this story before? What's it called?
Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, beauty and the...
Creep. Look, but that's easy for me to say. if you are OE, you have the aptitude to deal with this bullshit. It's like, oh, a million people are messaging me. I'll just ignore it. That's why they also have the ability to just kind of ignore and like focus elsewhere. It's like, oops, I forgot. Because that demeanor is able to put up with that. Her perception is going to be like, oh, put off opportunities. Obviously, it's going to be a bunch of creeps in my mailbox. That just is what it is. I'll filter them out. I have the personality, I have the aptitude to be able to deal with a lot of like bullshit. And then they stand to benefit from just someone else being like, oh, I love your work. I'm going to give you business. If I have any business come my way, it's because I sought it out. I'm not just like generally available, right? If you're OE, you're benefiting from that chaos. You're benefiting from that random chance. On the flip side, if you compare someone like Tim Ferriss, who's extremely controlling, what does he have to say about random people reaching out to you? Jameson, play the clip.
There are just a few rules that I follow, and no email app on my phone. I don't have mail set up on my phone. I do not have anything that shows me unread messages in my inbox. The second is no social media apps on my phone. And then you have airplane mode and silent.
Again, and so if there is an amazing opportunity, does he stand to benefit? No. His strategy in life is, I'm going to focus on a couple of things. Another example of that is Matthew McConaughey. So like he was like the number one rom-com guy, and he kind of got sick of doing rom-coms. He's like, okay, I want to get more meaningful scripts. And so what is his strategy? He's like, I'm just going to start saying no to things.
You sort of give the impression of being kind of, laid back, but your career was anything but. I mean, you really focus on getting those parts. They didn't just fall from heaven.
Well, I think I am much more intentional than I think people perceive. The dramas I wanted to do were not being offered to me. So when I couldn't do what I wanted to do, I stopped doing what I had been doing, which was the rom-coms. It was a sacrifice. I didn't get work and didn't work for over 2 years. Hollywood forgot me. All of a sudden, I found some anonymity again. I had unbranded, and all of a sudden Hollywood called again and said, it would be a novel, good idea? Matthew McConaughey.
And that's great that it worked out for him. Honestly, it could have gone either way. He could have just like fell out, right? It worked out by saying no and holding out. That worked out for him. He's putting himself in the position to benefit from saying no and focusing down. Let's belabor this point even more because I have a few more examples written down. So let's imagine you're trying to predict when it's going to rain. Let's say there's a drought and you need to figure out when it's going to rain because you have your little bucket out and you want to catch as much rain as you can. There's a few different ways to go about it. It's like, oh, what is everyone else doing? What happened in the past? What's happened before? Where does rain come from? Maybe I can figure out what's going to happen. And so again, if you are going by your narrowed down prediction based on your personal understanding, you are going to look crazy. Like you're going to be out in the field waiting for rain in some random place that's never rained before because that's what your calculations say. And when it pans out and it rains in some random place and it didn't rain where everybody else was expecting, you're a genius. And when it doesn't, which is what happens most of the time, you're out in the middle of the field holding your dick. And you're like, oh man, but if it panned out, oh, it would have been beautiful. But it didn't because you're crazy and you're stupid. If you're standing in the middle of the field and you're going against consensus in that area, what you're benefiting from, you're hoping everyone else is wrong and that you're right. And the contrast is if some play savior, right, some extroverted person is going checking out what the crazy person in the middle of the field is doing, that's like something I don't understand. It's like a crazy person, leave them alone. They're like, no, I just want to see like, what's your, why are you doing that, right? They're gathering the entire spectrum of what everybody thinks, including that crazy person. Because what if he's right? I want to be in on it if he's into something new. Like, give me the latest. Give me the latest, the newest. And so when that strategy pans out, it's like, oh yeah, I got on this quick, man. Yeah, I saw the tide was turning. Saw the person was right. Jumped on it. Cashed out.
Now the next question becomes, why do you have cranks on, or what people would consider cranks on the show?
It's like how people ask Joe Rogan, like, why did you have this person on? He's right wing, or he's like this, or he's a kook. But Joe Rogan, as a play savior, OE and DE, is obligated to just check in, just gonna double check, make sure they don't have something valuable to say, or make sure at least I can get the sense of what the entire spectrum is of what everyone's saying. So he's gonna have everyone on. So he's gonna take that position, and anything good that comes out of that, he's gonna benefit from.
A lot of people you're giving this guy a platform. Like, look, I'm communicating with someone, and I like him as a person. He's a very nice guy. I don't agree with him at all about the gay stuff.
And you believe it's worth giving people a platform?
What does that mean? I think that's a real problem, discussing things like that, like giving people a platform, because we're living in this world of deplatforming people. I think that's inherently dangerous.
Introverted functions in general can look chaotic to the outside world because like you're not in on their thought process. To me, introverted feelings can look chaotic. It's like, not only when it happens to me, but I've seen it happen with other people, like a very quick breakup or like a change in like emotions. It's like, and like, look, I'm not talking about anyone specific. I've seen this like 50 times. You know what? I realize I don't love them anymore.
I don't love you anymore.
Since when?
Now. Just now.
Oh, when did you decide that? It's like literally the last thing you told everybody else was the exact opposite. But it's just like something happened. They go in their internal world and they've processed it and they had a conversation with themselves and then they changed their mind. And then to the outside world, it's like, what? That was a sudden change. You didn't involve anyone. And the same thing goes with thinking. You guys get the point. Yada, yada, yada. I'm repeating myself. That's the end of the video. A low effort video to get back into it. Make sure I don't care what you do. It's called dry cleaning. Look, I can see that you stay on paved roads, but you are made to go around back and get dirty.